Jewish Insights with Justin Pines on JBS is made possible in part by the clubs at Pearl River, New York, luxury rental communities for ages 55 and better, now leasing Phase 3 at the Reserve, and the B.L. Manger Foundation.
הנה מה טוב ומנועים שבשחים גם יוחד הנה מה טוב ומנועים
Shalom and welcome to Jewish Insights. Leading up to our celebration of receiving the Torah at Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, we continue our exploration of Pnimiyut HaTorah, the hidden wisdom of Torah, the inner dimension of Jewish spirituality that speaks to the soul and calls us to transformation. At the same time, we are also preparing to celebrate Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, an Israeli national holiday that commemorates the reunification of East Jerusalem, including the Old City, with West Jerusalem, following Israel's miraculous victory of self-defense in the Six-Day War of 1967. My guest today is Rabbi Tamar Elad-Appelbaum, founding rabbi of the Zion community in Jerusalem and co-founder and head of the Israeli Rabbinic Seminary at the Shalom Hartman Institute. She is a visionary leader and teacher whose work bridges worlds between tradition and renewal, halakha, Jewish legal code and spirituality, community and personal awakening. She has inspired so many with her deep Torah, her commitment to unity, and her ability to reveal the hidden sparks of wisdom in our tradition. I'll add that when I first started the show, she was one of the first people I emailed. I said, please tell me when you're coming to America, and I've been patiently awaiting for us to see each other in person and also to have this opportunity to have a conversation. So I feel very lucky. And with that, Rabbi Tamar, it is such an honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. I waited too.
All right, I mean, beautiful. All right, so, I said to you before that it's like, I bet some of our audience doesn't know who you are, which is crazy to me because you're a very special person and a gem in the Jewish people, and I'm so grateful that I know you. Let's start with you just sharing a little bit about your story, your journey, how it came along, and kind of where you are today, the mission you have now.
Wow. So first, thank you for inviting me. Just sitting with you gives me so much strength and happiness and hope and faith. And thank you for everything you give all of us.
Thank you.
And even when you said those words, now Rabbi Tamar,
yeah.
I asked, who is she? Where is she? And I'm happy I do, every time from the beginning. Because I was born 50 years ago in Jerusalem, and I was never supposed to be a woman rabbi. Mm-hmm. I was born to a family that was made out of two different beautiful branches. Mm-hmm. One is a Moroccan branch coming from Casablanca in Morocco and the Atlas Mountains. My family comes from generations of rabbis and mystical leaders and people of righteousness and kindness who always opened their houses and doors, who always created synagogues and communities and congregations for others to be part of. And when my grandparents came to Israel, they actually had to leave everything behind. But my grandfather brought with him a pair of bicycle to just look for a job.
Wow.
And also his prayer book, his siddur, his prayer book, to make sure that he always prays.
Why did they have to leave?
Because many Jews left Morocco when the State of Israel was created. They wanted to be part of it, part of that miracle. So they came on that year to Medinat Israel, to the State of Israel. And my grandfather always told me that the first thing he decided, he got a job in fixing tires. And this is what he did all his life, until the age of 80. And he had these very strong black hands of all the work he needed to do, and very, very soft eyes. And whenever someone came into the tire shop, he said, if you see someone who has a broken tire, a hole in the tire, you never know if he has a broken or a whole one in his heart.
Wow.
So give him good tea and give him whatever you can to help him, hold him. And then he said, I decided to build a synagogue, a congregation for Moroccans in the city where they lived, next to Tel Aviv.
Okay.
And he decided that half of his salary, no matter what happens in his house, half of the salary would go there. And I really grew up with that grandfather and my grandmother holding a whole community and telling me to always just invite them in. Never, it doesn't matter how they look like, who they are. There's always a broken tire, a little hole. And each human and each Jew are entitled to come in and to be a part of it. That's that branch. The other branch is a branch of Ashkenazi Jew, who actually are German French Jews who come from before the 16th century from Germany, the Hirsch family. And after the 16th century, the Serf family from the other side of the Rhinus in Strasbourg and Metz and all these incredible Ashkenazi European Jews. And my family was actually, most of it was murdered in the Holocaust. The Serf family. We know exactly when and how many, and we remember all of them. But I do want to say that my grandfather, who was the last prayer leader, Chazan, of the Jews of Delm, who was a very ultra-Orthodox, I come from very religious families. He was a very ultra-Orthodox Jew wearing, you know, the whole outfit. He always told me, never forget that our family was saved by righteous Christians. And never forget that there are always people who fear God and who love each other. And you always reach out to them. So my Moroccan grandparents taught me to reach out to Jews, any Jew, and welcome them into the congregation. And my Ashkenazi, German, French grandparents taught me to always reach out to humanity and know that there are people who have the fear of God and the love of God, and we should work together.
Wow, beautiful. And how, bring me into your immediate home. So you brought together these two worlds. Who's who? Moroccan is your...
My father's side, and my mother's side.
So what was that like growing up in that home with that combination?
Thank you for asking. It's really interesting because in Israel, you know, we were creating the state of Israel. So my father was in all the wars of Israel, a very strong, a very Zionist family. And for a very long time, I looked at my grandparents as if they belonged to a different world. And I said, oh, but we're Zionists, we're in Israel. And it took me a while to see how revered my grandparents are by everyone, my parents and all my family, and to go and start talking to them. We in Israel grew in a world in which people like me who grew up in the religious setting, in the Orthodox setting, never met Jews from other denominations, ever. And I remember the first time I went into my grandparents' house, and my grandfather, my Moroccan one, said, if there's one thing I want you to remember, love your people. Love your people. And he said, look at my children. One of them is very religious. Another is very secular. It doesn't matter. They all have a room around this table. And they taught me what we call Ahavat Israel, the love of all Israel. So I was filled with that feeling from a very young age. And I grew up, and I was a woman. I wasn't supposed to do anything with it besides just have a family. Right. And I always tell the story that at a certain moment when I was about 7 years old, we were about to embark on the Passover evening, and everyone was ready for Passover. And we were sitting around the table telling the story, coming out of Egypt. My grandfather always told us how important this was. And my grandfather, my Moroccan one, started seeing everyone sleeping, dozing, not sure they can make this throughout the whole evening. And he wanted everyone to know we'll be eating soon. So he said, Chevre, guys, we're soon going to be eating. And he said, you know, grandmother, maybe you can go to the kitchen and just make sure everything is ready, and all the women with you. So my grandmother, Saftazari, started walking to the kitchen. My mother walking to the kitchen. My aunts walked to the kitchen. I'm the first granddaughter. I was supposed to stand up, walk to the kitchen. I stood up at the age of 7. I can't say why this happened until today. I stood up, and a minute before going to the kitchen, I said, no, no. I said, Grandpa, you told me, you taught me that all Jews came out of Egypt that night. Men and women, elderly and children, all of us came out of Egypt together. You taught me that you never come out of Egypt leaving anyone behind. We come out of Egypt and go to Israel together.
Wow.
How can you send us to the kitchen? And everyone was silent. It's a Moroccan family. Everyone was silent. My parents were underneath the table.
I'm sure.
And then my grandfather said 2 words in Hebrew, 4 in English. Hayalda tzodeket. The girl is right.
Wow.
And we came back. And we came that night out of Egypt, all of us, together. And since then, I actually embarked on a journey asking my parents to learn like the boys. We learned how to sew and bake and cook, the girls. I asked them to learn the law and the Torah. And I promised I would keep on sewing and baking, which I did.
Yeah.
And slowly I kept on studying until one day a very good friend of mine, Rabbi Danny Segal, told me that he is about to learn to become a rabbi. And he said, there's only one problem. I'm not going to become a rabbi if you don't become one too.
Wow.
And I said, what are you talking about? I'm a woman. I'm a religious Orthodox woman.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, Tamar, there were always women leaders in our people. Always. We read about them in the Bible, in the Torah. And we know of them in Turkey in the 16th century. There were women rabbis. In Poland in the 19th century. And he said, now it's your turn. And you have the privilege of doing it in the land of Israel. So you become a rabbi. And I was married for 1 month. I came back home to my beloved husband, Yossi Joseph. And I told him, listen, I heard there are women rabbis. And Danny just told me he thinks I should be a woman rabbi. I'm married 1 month. What should I do? And Yossi hugged me strong. And he said, Tamar, this is exactly what you were supposed to do.
Wow.
You will be a woman rabbi in the land of Israel.
Beautiful. Amazing. Amazing. All right. So, and did you mentioned kind of these two frameworks at the beginning. One was connecting with friends outside of the Jewish people, and the other one was bringing people into the Jewish. Is that when you were kind of exploring the idea of becoming a rabbi, was that those the two forces that were behind you?
Yeah. My grandparents were and still are. They passed away many years ago, but they still are such a big influence. And actually, I went to ask for their blessing. And I was shocked at how open my grandparents were. They were simple people. And that simplicity was actually pure faith. They had emunah, they had faith. They always told me that in order to have faith, you don't need to be wise. You just need to be listening to God.
Amen.
And so they taught me to listen to God within every person, every Jew, every human being. And God was, he was the convener of everything in their life. So they taught me to listen to that and to thank for that. Yehudi, Jew, comes from the word thank, to thank God for being present everywhere, all the time, even in the most difficult moments. And to search for that and be guided by that.
Beautiful. So I love that. It's something that I certainly feel like I try to work hard to do. You know, there are times when I'm listening or looking, and there are times when I'm not. If you're comfortable, can you share an example just to get practical for someone who wants to understand what does it mean to do that? And you mentioned your grandparents modeled that for you. What, it could be a big event in your life, or it could be this morning at coffee. I have no idea, but can you share an example of kind of tapping into God in that way?
Truthfully, I find it in every moment, but I'll tell you one specifically.
Okay.
Since we're sitting in days which really are historic days, we're after the horrific day of the 7th of October, and since then, I saw God that day in the soldiers who left down to go south to help others, which they didn't know. They weren't even called. They left before being called. I saw God. I saw God when I saw elderly women who came to pray on that day, which was the Shabbat, a Sabbath, and was a holiday, Simchat Torah. And you saw young children telling them, you won't go alone to your house. I'll come with you, giving them a hand, walking together. I saw God in children that week baking cookies for the soldiers and for the people who were attacked on the 7th of October. And I saw God in people who walked around just to bring clothes to the people who came from the Gaza Strip and had nothing on them, and toys for the children and books to read, and came to sing with them and came to console them and cry with them. I saw God in people who had no answers, but they had love and care and kindness. I saw God in people like Bedouins and Druze who were with us. And it was not a question that we were all together in this, helping each other, caring for each other, crying for each other, having mercy for each other.
Sure.
And I saw God also in creation and birds that sang to us when we were weeping. So I saw that, and since then I appreciate it much more. When I see a little boy holding his grandmother's hand, I know that it's God. I think God is in gentleness. God is when we are so vulnerable and we accept the fact that tenderness is all we have to give to each other. And that tenderness, which sometimes feels in the midst of helplessness, is actually the greatest force of all. It's the force of God.
Let's talk first about Zion, Kehilat Zion, Zion community, I guess let's call it. Why don't you share a little bit about what that is and what you're trying to do?
Okay, so actually 12 years ago our grandparents passed away. As I said, they were very significant in my life. Also, Yossi, my husband's grandparents. And we were asking ourselves, what is our job now? What is the calling, the shlichut that we should take upon ourselves? Suddenly it was clear that our generation needs to step up, that we receive the best education. So what do we need to do with it now?
Sure.
On a national level, on a local level. And Yossi and I thought about the fact that we were privileged to be born and raised and create our own family in Jerusalem, the holy city. And we said, but we were born, as I said, into a world where religious never met secular, never met reform, never met conservative Jews. And they always live apart. And we felt it can't be that Jews had walked 2,000 years in exile only to live apart in Jerusalem. It can't be.
Amazing. It's an amazing image.
It just, it's not the right thing. That's not what we came for. Our ancestors speak about the gathering of exiles, and you can almost hear it, the different sounds and music, the different images, the different colors, the different worlds and lifestyles. And we said, this is what they meant. And this is what our grandparents taught us. Let's do this for our grandparents and call it Zion, Zion. So we actually started in our living room. Everyone came into our living room. We called our friends. We said, let's try. 2 words, bon and aseh. Let's try. Let's try being together, Jews who are religious, secular, Sephardi, Ashkenazi, women, men. Let's just try doing this together. And we were sure 2.5 people would come. And 100 people came.
Wow.
From all different worlds, different colors, different affiliations. And they came into the living room, and that's how it started in our living room. And I remember slowly, we created a prayer that is the traditional prayer, but with a different music of all Jewish worlds. And so at the very beginning, if you sat in a prayer on Shabbat evening in Zion, so you could really see who are the Moroccans, who are the Yemenites, who are, the Hasidic, who are all these different types of people. And then slowly you saw that everyone became Moroccan, everyone became Yemenite, they could all sing all the melodies. And it was sort of a beautiful blanket, quilt, made out of all these melodies coming from all the different Jewish perspectives in Jerusalem. So we started with prayer, and we called it a Jerusalemite Israeli prayer, to bring back all these melodies. Then we went to study Torah, and we studied, and we do until today, study Torah together. And from that, and also different perspectives, and from that we moved to kindness, to tikkun olam, to doing kindness, which we do with all Jerusalemites. We do it with Jews. If a boy doesn't have tefillin before his bar mitzvah, or if someone in the east part of the city, a Muslim, needs food, we do it with everyone. And we're known, I think, in Jerusalem for being a beautiful picture of the future. I always say, if you come to Zion, you'll see the picture of the future.
Beautiful.
Because this is what our grandparents taught us. But we came back to Israel, and Israel is young, and it's still under war, and it needs to defend itself. But it also has such a vision, not only for itself, but for the world. And so we create that vision every day.
Wow. And tell me, at the same time, while you're building this amazing community called Zion, you also are running what started as a Beit Midrash and is now a smicha program. It's graduating rabbis at the Hartman Institute, Israeli rabbis. Tell me a little bit about that. And
yeah, so actually it's the very same thing. Same time, same living room.
Really?
Yeah. I always say that it all happened in the same place.
Wow.
So same time, we said to ourselves, okay, Zion, Zion should be in Jerusalem, the holy city, it's clear. And it should be a symbol of the world to come, and it has to be in Jerusalem. But how can we make it national? How can we make sure that this happens in Tel Aviv, and it happens in the north and down south? There's so many worthy leaders, and they should all know each other. So we did the very same thing, only on a national scale. We started it in our living room. We took 18 rabbis who were already known in Israel with a very big following, Orthodox, secular, Reform, conservative, beyond denominations, men, women, everyone. And we started with them to create a seminary. And right after that, we started actually bringing their students from all around Israel so they could receive a smicha.
Wow.
And today we have 100 alumni from all around Israel, from the north to the south. Those rabbis are escorting the different communities down south in the Gaza Strip who need it, and up in the north. They escort it with their different colors and different worlds. And I'm very proud. What I'm even more proud of is that, of course, this is a joint program of the Hartman Institute together with the Midrasha, which bring two different colors and voices of Israeli society, Jewish leadership.
What's the Midrasha?
The Midrasha is a secular world of the kibbutz leadership, the Jewish kibbutz leadership that after the 6-Day War and the 73 War decided to enter the world of Torah. And so we brought them together to say, look, what we can do together, what we can accomplish together when we bring all these different perspectives of Torah. And then we opened it up not only to a seminary, but to a network of rabbis. And we said to all rabbis from all denominations, come and join and be part of a network where people, rabbis, work not each one for himself or herself, but work together for Klal Yisrael. And this is what we do, and we take different issues. It could be about education, it could be about elderly, it could be about different issues, and we tackle them together in order to bring a rabbinic national voice for everyone.
Wow. It seems, when you say it, it seems so obvious, but also it seems, but also the stereotype of Israel is that it's impossible. It's like what you said. We had all these people return to Israel to not talk to each other.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
So have you, in that process, have you had pushback? Have you had people that like either said, there's no way I'm being a part of this, or even worse, said, I want to stop you from being successful because I disagree with what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say my first pushback is me.
Yeah. Okay,
As
why?
I said, I'm a woman from an Orthodox world. You know, I grew up in Chabad. I learned and I was fortunate enough to learn with everyone. Chabad, Tzionut Datit, you know, the national religious world. I learned with the conservative, with the Reform, with the secular. I was very lucky to learn with all these incredible worlds. And yet, every time I say to myself, me? Who am I? And I have to tell you, it's my husband, Yossi, who always tells me, who are you not to do it? You were given life by Hashem, by God. Who are you not to take that precious time and give it to bring people together? Who are you not to do it? So many times I feel that we are the first censorship of our life, and it's very important to have people around you. It's not something we can do by ourselves. I always say that, you know, in the Jewish world, the Rambam, Maimonides, said that at the center of the Jewish world stands one, the one scholar who knows everything. But at the center of the Jewish world, according to Jewish mysticism and the Zohar, it's always two. You can't do it by yourself. You always need someone else to tell you. So that's my Yossi. But besides that, I want to say that, yes, this is political. I have the privilege of being connected to many worlds. So I think I'm able to work within many different leaderships of the Israeli and Jewish society. But I have to say that many times people told me, I can't work with you.
Right.
And I said, okay, so work with me behind the scenes. And I believe that all of us are able to work together, but we have to guard each other. People have a lot to lose, and I want to be respectful of that. And as long as we do things that are good for our people and don't deny the place of each Jew, so I want to be a part of it and help in whatever I can. And every time someone, you know, closed a door, I went in through the window. I didn't give up. Because this is not about me. This is not about us. This is something huge. This is about our people in a time that is full, not only in our people, in the world. It's full of hatred. It's full of individualism. It's full, on the one hand, individualism is very extreme and people are very lonely. and they don't always have patience to fix things, so everything has to be fixed very, very quickly. On the other hand, there's a world of collectiveness that says that we have to fix things only together, but sometimes it's very extreme. It's us and not them. And Jewish tradition is another invitation. It says we are individual. Each one of us was created in the image of God, B'Tselem Elokim, and we're all different, and it's beautiful. But we're also a collective. We are a family. We are a people. We have to guard each other. We have to make sure that we are able to live in this world, and we want to voice something that is so particular and so universal for everyone. And this brings a different possibility, so we have to show that to the world. We can't be speaking about it without actually showing it. So it's very important to not give up on the work of Ahavat Israel, of the love of Israel, and making room for all Israel, and to show that to the world, and then open it up to all the people who want to be part of a world where we are in solidarity with each other.
I want to ask you one more question on that before we go to the next topic, which is, I'm so, again, on a theoretical, religious level, Ahavat Yisrael makes sense, right? Everyone is created in God's image, and even beyond the Jewish people, everyone's created in God's image, and this idea of connecting with people. But I also know that this is certainly an area of challenge for everyone today, right? This idea of those who disagree with you politically or whatever it is, siblings, whatever, like think of Breshit, like there's all these challenges people have in their lives, and getting to Ahavat Yisrael is so hard. Can you share practically, right? It's one thing to say it, but how do you do that practically? Is it a matter of like, as soon as someone attacks you or someone bothers you, you remind yourself Ahavat Yisrael, or you say like it's a commandment to absorb the embarrassment, or like how do you, when there's moments where it's not so easy to have Ahavat Yisrael, what are the tools you use to be successful in maintaining Ahavat Yisrael?
It's a beautiful, I learned it from my grandfather, my Moroccan grandfather. Always when you say the phrase in Hebrew, Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How wonderful it is to sit together.
Yes.
Shevet is the abbreviation of shira, to sing together, of bakasha, to ask for each other, and of tefillah, to pray for each other. Moroccans never ever do anything without food. Ever. You're a family before anything. So it's not about ideas. Ideas won't make me, if chas v'shalom, God forbid, it's an idea that endangers someone and says something terrible about a human being who was created in the image of God, I will say no.
Right.
But most people disagree on things that will not be settled around this table.
Right.
So the Moroccans never learned Torah without having some mashke, drinking something, some food, singing together, asking for each other, giving a bracha to each other. I say bracha for you, I say a blessing for you, and you say a blessing for me. So shir, to sing together, bracha, to bless each other, and tefillah, to pray for each other. Because it's much more important for me that in our family we won't have poor people. That in our family, people who want to have love and create a family will find their person. People who want to bring children and are having difficulties will have the whole community supporting them. We are not always immersed in the right conversations. And rachamim, the notion of mercy, is the notion of family. Before anything, shevet achim gam yachad, you have mercy on each other. And I think we are in a world that is very legal, so we speak in terms of legalities, din.
Yeah.
It's not
Strict
good.
Justice, yeah.
Exactly, and it's not good for our family. It's not the first thing in our family. So I think it's very important today for rabbis to make sure their communities spend time together singing, and spend time eating, and spend time blessing each other, and spend time praying together and practicing all of that. And this must come before we, rabbis, have a holy mission right now towards our people and towards the whole world. People lost trust in our ability to be a family. And they were told by politicians that we can't. And it's not true. And rabbis, like the IDF is in charge of the body, protecting the bodies, rabbis and leaders, Jewish leaders, are in charge of protecting the soul. And the soul needs protection by trusting that we are a family and that I care for you no matter what happens.
Wow.
It's beyond your politics. It's important, and we'll have a Bet Midrash, and our ancestors taught us that one of the remedies for the destruction of the temple, for the hate there was, is to sit and talk. And that's why Jews sit and talk. And that's one of the practices we took upon ourselves, because we killed each other. We destructed, in many ways, that temple. But we have to sit together and talk, but not on the expense of being one family around the table. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
Beautiful. By the way, the theme song, the opening credits of this show is Hine Matov U'Manayim. So
oh my God,
thank
that's
you for
beautiful.
strengthening, because we're sitting together, you know. But that's amazing that the Torah you added to that, and it's really beautiful. You know, I've thought about that text obviously before, but I hear what you adding is two things. One is the actual structure of the sitting together. Is there food there? Are we singing? What type of activity are we doing at a table? And the second I hear you saying is the mindset that this is family. At the end of the day, this is family, and what does that mean? And we both, you know, you mentioned the Holocaust. For me, certainly one of the lessons of the Holocaust, you know, my grandfather lost all his siblings and his parents, and this idea of like family could be gone tomorrow and how precious family is. And I love your framing that family is rachamim, is this idea of like motherly love, of mercy. It's beautiful. All right, I want to ask you another question. I invited you on initially because I'm doing this series on Pnimiyut HaTorah, and you, in your most, as always, respectful, thoughtful, and sweet way, it politely said, not no, but no, a little bit. And I want to understand why, and I want to ask you on TV why. Why didn't I was going to ask you 20 questions about Pnimiyut HaTorah, and you had some resistance. Explain for me, please.
So first I want to thank you for this conversation, all of it, and this one specifically. I want to say that Pnimiyut HaTorah is really my life in many ways.
And sorry, I should. We've already defined it, but I'll just say Pnimiyut HaTorah, like the inner wisdom of Torah. In some ways, the hidden wisdom of Torah. Keep going. Sorry, it is your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's crucial to my life as a human being, as a Jew, as a religious Jew in Israel, in Jerusalem. And I want to say also, it's wisdom that is eternal. It's beyond history. And holding on to it is holding on to eternity, even within storms of history. And that's why it's so important. We call it Pnimiyut HaTorah because Pnimiyut is internal. It shows that even when things external go wrong and they're very difficult and even frightening, there's some compass that is internal and eternal, and you can hold onto it and trust it. Wow. And also it comes not only from the word internal, pnimiyut, but also from panim, from face. It gives me the ability to have a face. As our ancestor taught us that a face has 2 years, so we can stand at Sinai like you opened and listen. Listen to that God and listen to the Torah and see it. And it's in order not to see the outside of life, but to see the inside of the soul. So everything we have, internally and outside, is made and structured in order for us to be able to hear the invitation to enter the world of eternity. And that's why it's so important, and that's why I hold on to it. And many times we say that Pnimiyut HaTorah is like the Pardes. You know, there's Pshat, the field. There's Pshat, Remez, Drash, and Sod.
Right, Pardes is an acronym. Each letter stands for 4 different things. You'll say what they are, yeah.
Yeah, Pshat, it's the
simple meaning.
Simple meaning. Remez, which is sort of a hint. Drash, which is, I don't know how you say drash in English.
I don't know how to say it either. Like pulling out meaning, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's the best definition ever. And sod, which is the secret. And Pnimiyut HaTorah usually is perceived as the sod. And usually, you know, in the Moroccan world, from my family where we come from, they would say that when you take out the sod from the Pardes, so you're left with perud.
Okay,
with
perud?
A world that is separated, where everything separates, it doesn't come together. The sod brings it together, and you can feel Anochi Hashem Elokecha. You could feel that everything is one.
I am the Lord your God, yeah.
I am the Lord your God. Everything is one. That's the one first thing you need to know.
Right.
Everything is one. Like we say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Listen, Israel. Everything is one. By the way, it doesn't only mean that everything is one. It believes that each and every one of these people of my people counts. That's why I'm with this for the hostages. Each and every one counts. And I will do anything in my power, every moment I can, to speak about my brothers, to make sure they come back, to do everything I can to remember that God is the Redeemer. And that he says that everyone is one, meaning we should care for each and every one. So this is Pnimiyut HaTorah. It's embodied within and outside. And it means that in my hands and in my legs and in my heart and in my deeds, I have to make a world of oneness through the way I act with each and every one. But I can say that my life work is also bringing in people who are so different. They come from kibbutzim down south. They come from Sfaradi backgrounds in different places. They have so many different ways of understanding who they are and what their understanding of Torah is. And I really try to use every door I can, every invitation and gateway I can, to make them feel this is theirs. It's theirs. They own it. They're part of it. And the way they understand it has a place in our tradition. So that's why it's very important for me to, on one hand, be a teacher of, Chassidut and all this world that is very close to me, that it's who I am. You could actually say I'm a Moroccan Hasidic rabbi. That's really who I am.
Yeah.
Like I carry the Zohar that was learned by my family for generations alongside the Chassidut for many generations from my other side of the family, the Amritzal Chassidut. But this is, and Amshinov Chassidut. But I want to say that it feels to me that I want to use words that open up for everyone. That's, by the way, why I use the word rabbi. I wanted it to be clear that there also could be a secular person using that word, and also a Reform, and also a Chabad, and all of us are doing that work. I always say that the person I miss the most in our tradition are the priests. The priests in the Bet HaMikdash, because they had on their chest this beautiful piece of jewelry that actually had all the 12 tribes on them. And they could not walk without remembering the high priest, that he is the servant of them all. Rabbis have to be servants of them all. So Pnimiyut HaTorah is so important to me, but I want to say it in all the different languages of Jews, so they can come in and take part in reviving the internal and eternal world of Torah.
Wow, beautiful. Say a word. I know that this also connects to the city of Yerushalayim itself. I know that's a big part. You're a Yerushalmi community. We're a Jerusalemite community. Talk to me about how Jerusalem fits into this.
Toda. So for me, Yerushalayim, and specifically the words we say many times in marriages, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim, if I forget thee, Jerusalem. What does it mean not to forget Jerusalem? Why should we remember Jerusalem? What is important about it? And I always say that our ancestors taught us that it's a structure, an architecture of holiness called Zion v'Yerushalayim, Zion and Jerusalem. Our ancestors teach us very early, and you can see this also in the Zohar, in the mystical tradition, and in the Chassidut, that Zion is the temple. Zion was the temple, and Yerushalayim was the city. And they complemented each other. They were complementary to each other. Zion, as the temple, comes from the word metzuyan, extraordinary, excellence. It's human excellence. And human excellence had an architecture of its own at the temple. If you would have looked at the floor of the temple, the ancestors say that it was made of marbles, small marbles, and none were the same. They were all different, like the people of Israel. They had different colors of eyes, different heights, different perspectives. They were different problems. And the work of the people building the temple was to put them all next to each other so they can look as one. That is the architecture of the holiness. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Everything is one when everyone has place. And if you had watched higher and taken your gaze to the ceiling, you would see 12 windows, one for each tribe for Israel. And they say that there was even a 13th one for those who didn't know what tribe they were.
Wow.
That is many of us, many times.
Of course.
And people who want to be a part of it, who want to come from different places and want to be a part of it. But then at the very center of the Holy of Holies of everything, like we said about Maimonides, who thinks that at the center there's one, and the Zohar that says that the center of holy there's two. At the very center on the ark, there were two cherubs, and they looked as two angels looking at each other. Our ancestors say that they looked like angels, baby angels, or like innocent angels, who looked at each other, watched each other, and actually cared for each other. And they say that the priest's work was to teach care, as he had this jewel, the choshen, on himself, and he was in charge of that care. Holiness is care. And they say that the destruction of the temple was when the two cherubs stopped looking at each other, stopped caring for each other. And that was the moment, the Shekhinah, that God left the temple. That was the moment. So that is Tzion, that is excellence. It's when I care for you, no matter what your political views are, no matter what mine are. We are two in the center, a mother and a daughter, two friends, a teacher and his student, his pupil, his disciple. Always, always two, a grandmother and her grandchild, always two. Jews from all denominations. We are always together. That's Tzion. Yerushalayim, the city, is supposed to amplify it to the whole entire world. Now, what is the name Yerushalayim? Rabbeinu Bachya says that Yerushalayim comes from the plural. Yerushalayim is like enaim, eyes, that I have two, oznaim, ears, that I have two, ktefaim, shoulders, that I have two, Yerushalayim. It's in the plural. And there was even a wonderful, our sort of national Jerusalemite poet, Yehuda Amichai, who said, I'm so tired of Yerushalayim being in the plural. Can we just have Yerushal one? It's too much for me.
Yeah.
But no, says Rabbeinu Bachya. Hundreds of years ago, he says, no, Yerushalayim must be in the plural. Yerushalayim is also in the future tense. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, they shall see. It means it not necessarily happens now, but we have to envision it in a prophetic way. We have to remember it. Remember not the past, remember the future. Not the things, the difficulties, but remember the destiny where we need to go to. And that is supposed to amplify Tzion. And when we sing in Hatikva, in the national anthem of the state of Israel, Eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim, we sing Kol od balevav pnima, as long as we have Pnimiyut, like Pnimiyut HaTorah, like Panim, as long as we have that, as long as I have the different faces of all the different Jews of my people, and also of this world, and my fellows who are righteous Christians and Muslims all around the world, as long as I have that, as long as I have Tzion and Yerushalayim, that Zion in my heart, that Yerushalayim, Jerusalem in my heart, I will reach the land of Tzion and Jerusalem. I will reach that land. Zionism, at its beginning, we're now at its beginning, is creating the actual physical land, hospitals, places, IDF, which must be strong. But Zionism, the next level, will be Eretz Tzion v'Yerushalayim, the land of Zion and Jerusalem, where people care for each other, where the Shekhinah comes back because we never stop caring for each other, and it will never go. On the contrary, it will become bigger and influence and give light to all the world, to people around us from all different religions and faiths. So when I say that I am a person from Tzion, from Jerusalem, and I ask people not to forget and to say, if I forget thee, Jerusalem, I will not forget you. I say to people, don't forget. This is where we're going to. This is the Israel we are creating. We will care for everyone. We will care for Jews. We will care for Druze. We will care for Muslims. We will care for Bedouins. We will show the world what an incredible thing it is to be a place of defense, of defending life, defending care, standing against extremism, which is the biggest epidemic, much, much, much greater than COVID. And standing with what? With Tzion, with Zion, and with Yerushalayim, with Jerusalem. And that is Im Eshkachech. And in this moment in history, which is a very difficult moment for everyone around the world, where we're witnessing so much extremism and everything is about to go to that direction, we say, no, no, no. We, most of us, we're at the center. all of us are at the center, and we want to go together to a land of Zion and Yerushalayim. And we have to be those cherubs, and we have to have that beautiful garment or jewel on us. We have to be priests. And the Jewish people has a very big teaching to teach the world in this moment, to teach Zion and Jerusalem. And that's why I call everyone to come and see our community of Zion, to come and see our seminary, to participate in this. We have on the 28th of May an interfaith prayer for the sake of Jerusalem with Muslim leaders, with Christian leaders, with Jewish leaders, which is going to be broadcasted in many places. And I hope it'll be broadcasted here too. Yeah. And people will be able to see it and to be a part of it and to pray for that place, which is everywhere we are. Right. We are the embodiment of Zion and Jerusalem. So that is why, for me, my essence is that I am a faith leader from Zion, from Yerushalayim, from Jerusalem.
Wow. Amazing. I have so many things. I want to be mindful of time. I want to ask you next, if there was one teaching that you want every Jew to carry with them, what would that teaching of Torah be?
V'yitem kedushim. You shall be holy. Holy. Heschel says that we want to be good. It's not what we should be. We should be holy. Holy means that I will do the word kadosh in Hebrew, holy, doesn't mean to be more. It means to put boundaries, to be less like God, as if it were lessened himself in order to make this world. We should put limitations on ourselves so we can live with each other. I must put limitations on myself so I can live next to you and there would be space and place for you. We need to be holy. Holy, kadosh, means to give my life to you. Give my life to be a servant. I want to be holy. I want to be a servant of God. And we say that being a servant of God takes you to the word of Atzilut. Even think about the name in Hebrew. We say the name of God, Kadosh Baruch Hu. God's name is lended in Hebrew to who? To the poor, which I don't know his name. To the widow, which I don't know her. But I will now go out to the street, and I want, in this world that loves very, very rich people, and there are many rich people who give endlessly, but all those people are holy because they do what God is commanding us to do, to see the invisible, to see the widow, to see the poor, to be holy, not to be with the strong, to be with the weak, not to be with the revered, to be with the unseen. So this is what we are asked to do, to be holy. And I hope for our people, especially after the 7th of October, where I saw so many holy people leaving everything in order to be servants. I hope we will learn from them to live a life of servitude. And I hope that every moment we receive from God will not be dedicated to the ego, it will be dedicated to the invisible. That is a holy life. And that is what we are expected, to be holy.
Beautiful. I'm studying Mesilat Yesharim daily, the path of the just, and it feels like that's one of the core messages of that, is this sense of self-limitation, to put the greater cause before you. I'll ask... Can
I just say one thing, please? It's beautiful because the Zohar says, it's mamash Mesilat Yesharim in what you said, the Zohar says that in our heart, our two lungs are like a bird that has two wings. Okay. One wing is the wing of love. And one wing is the wing of fear of God. Okay. Ahava and ir'ah. Okay. So one wing is like the wing of Chassidut, of Pnimiyut HaTorah, of loving the other. And the other wing is like the wing of Musar, of limiting yourself, and doing avodat midot, of limiting yourself. And only when they work together, then your heart is at its fullness. Zion, by the way, is the heart, Lev Ha'olam. And then you can send that to the whole entire world eternally.
Wow. I love that. As someone who knows much more Musar than Chassidut, maybe I need to pick up the other side of it. I want to ask you, are you comfortable sharing, are there like moments in your life where like really, in a personal way, right? Like I feel like for me, this is avoda, this is work. It's not as simple as like you study an idea in Torah and you're like that the next day. Yeah. Are there moments where you feel like, we talked about political opposition, but even in a smaller way, where you feel a struggle between this sense of the self-limitation and how you think about self-limitation. Can you bring me in?
Yeah.
How does that come up and how do you navigate it?
All the time.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things, I'm so grateful for this question because we are humans.
Yeah.
We're only humans and we're limited and we fall all the time.
Yeah.
And we have to stand up again. And I fall all the time. I have despair and sadness and my heart breaks so many times and it's hard. And I feel that rabbis we cannot lie. We have to tell everyone how difficult this is. I thank you for the word avodah, labor.
Yeah.
This is labor.
This is work.
Every day. You know, the Daf Yomi was created at the beginning of the 20th century, 1923. But in the Sephardi world, we have a Daf Yomi. It's different. It's called Chok LiYisrael. Chok LiYisrael. It was created by the Ari Kadosh in the 16th century. It was, how do you say, hudpas, was printed in the 18th century. And it has a bit of everything. It has a bit of Torah, and then a bit of Nevi'im, prophets, Ketuvim. It has a bit of Zohar, a bit of Chassidut, a bit of Musar, all together. And my Saba, my Moroccan grandfather, he had the chok, we call it chok, in his hands every day, all day.
Wow.
That's avodah. So when you ask me, what do? I go back to the chok. I go back to study. I learn Torah regularly. I wake up in the morning, I pray and I study. Always. I go to sleep. I do not go to sleep, which is very, very late at night, without praying and studying by myself, without anyone else. No one has to see me. It's me with myself. I do cheshbon nefesh every day. I
Counting
think,
of the soul.
yeah, what did I do wrong? And I always have things I did wrong. How can I become a better person tomorrow? What did I learn from other people who were really good and kind to me today? Where did I fall? How will I try not to doing this again? I ask my friends, I learn. Life is work. It's not only inspiration. It's inspiration and exercise. That's why the word emunah, it comes from imun, exercise. You have to exercise all the time. And I think part of exercising is knowing that it's not me with myself. I remember Micha Goldman saying that we live in a generation of the daily me. It's not me and myself. I exercise when I meet you now in television. And you ask me questions and you remind me of the person I want to be. And we exercise because there's someone looking at this right now who will then come back to you and say, oh my God, I understood something. We exercise together. And I know it's sad. The gyms are full of people exercising physically.
Yes.
But the truth is, the street and life is full of people who exercise faith constantly. And the only thing we need to do is to share it with each other and be helped by each other and be carried by each other and also support each other and help each other. So we are in a walk. We have been given by our ancestors a torch of eternal light. And it went through all the generations. And they too, they fell and they gave the torch to someone else and say, don't you dare leave it. And they helped each other. They didn't do it by themselves. And now that they give it to us, we should work and hold that torch. And not one of us will do it, but all of us will do it together. That's why this TV program is so important. You can't do it by yourself. You need to do it in a group of people who learn and exercise all the time. And it's our greatest honor to be exercising in the world of God. This world does not belong to me. Nothing. Not the state of Israel, not Jerusalem. It belongs to God. It belongs to Hashem. And we exercise in His world. And every moment He gives us, we will fall, and then we will find someone to stand up with until we give the torch to the next generation.
Wow. Amazing, amazing. I want to end on that, but I'm going to self-indulge and not be self-limited and ask you one small a big question, but only for a small amount of time at the end. A thread that I've seen through here, you talked about Shekhinah, which is God's feminine presence. You talked about Rachamim, which is motherly love. You talked about care as the core of Tzion. To me, there are some, I'll call them feminine aspects to God in there. How do you think about the unique role of women in bringing, let's call it Torah or hidden Torah to the world, and the connection between what you've shared and the fact that you're a woman, to be frank? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that.
Sure.
It takes me back to that moment when I was not supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think we women have a lot to add to spiritual and faith leadership. I think we bring humbleness, anava, tawadu in Arabic.
Okay.
Yeah, we bring humbleness. And I think it's very important. Every day I say, it's unbelievable, the humbleness of God. God is in everything, in the table, in the chair. He agrees for us to put water on the table. He is the water, He is the cup, He is the table, He is the chair, He's you, He's me. He's everywhere. How humble, how more of a humble teacher can you find and follow in this world? And I think women who for many generations have been holding houses from the inside, private houses, now they have the opportunity, and I think they're called by history, to hold the public house. Because much of the public house is on flames, and it's very strong and has a lot of ego. And I think women bring something that is more humble many times and tries to really ask, how can we protect life wherever it is? And it doesn't mean that women are not strong, powerful, and don't know how to draw lines and forcefully when it's needed. But I think they also know how to create within a room that understanding that everyone has to come out of the room when they feel they've been heard and they gained something. Everyone has, not one could win. Everyone could win, otherwise everyone loses. As long as these are people who are coming into the room with goodwill and understanding and protecting life together. And I want to say that emunah, faith, according to the Zohar, to the mystical tradition, comes from Ima, mother. Faith comes from the mother. And she is not only the bird here, she is the Shekhinah. And her wings are open in us all the time. And we are under her wings. And we were privileged to be born in this world and to follow her. And to hear her music. Every time we hear the wind, we hear that bird. And we have to walk there. And we live in a very materialistic world that throws away very quickly everything. But that wind, it comes and goes. All of us breathe it. The same thing. All children, all elderly. It's the first breath of a child. It's the last breath of an elderly. And we have to bring that breath into the leadership positions, to have more space in them, to be more seen, to receive more opportunities to shape humanity. And I think humanity will realize that it needs women as faith leaders and as political leaders in this world. And I pray that in our family we will have these women from all different religions and nations, because I think it will bring that bird and create better days, which all of us, wherever we are, in Israel and in any other place, all of us pray for.
Amen. Rabbi Tamar, thank you so much. I feel like we could go for 9 hours here. Every time I'm with you, I feel like I learn so much. So thank you for being here.
Thank
and you should go well.
Thank you so much. I pray from all my heart that our hostages will come back, and that our soldiers will come back, and that our people from the north and the south will go back home safely, and all the injured will be healed, and all children, wherever they are, Jews and Muslim and Christian, all of them who are innocent will all see peace one day.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Toda.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת שחים